Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Life of Lee podcast. How you doing? I hope you're very well. I'm good. I'm high as fuck. I'm hot as fuck, and I had to turn the air conditioner off so it wouldn't fuck with the sound. So if you see me getting sweaty, that's why. It is 31 degrees here, and I just went in it. I just went out and had a doobie, and I think. It's like they say when you're on a plane, if you have a drink because of the air pressure and stuff, like one drink's like 3 drinks. I think when you're sitting smoking weed in 31 degrees, one joint is like 3 joints, because fuck me. Don't get me wrong, the weed here is incredible as well. Next episode, I'm just going to talk about loads of Canada stuff, so we'll get into that. But this episode, I said last episode that I was going to talk about movies, and I went and saw the Barbie movie. No, I didn't. I'm just kidding with you. I will never see that movie. In fact, some random person commented on the last video, because I said I was going to talk about films in this one, and they said, "Oh, is it the Barbie movie?" And I'll make a deal. You want me to talk about the Barbie movie, then I'll watch it with you, and only you. That's the only way I'll watch that movie, is if I'm watching it with the person that wrote that comment. So yeah, the films that I am going to talk about is 2 of my favourite films. Like, I love movies, I love films. They've played a huge part in my life, even before I started like working on them. The first film that ever really blew my mind was Star Wars. Like, I remember watching it, I think I was 8, and I can't remember, 8? I think I was 8, and I got the 3 original movies on VHS special edition. It was a re-release. The box was cool as fuck. It had like this Darth Vader helmet on the side of it and shit. It was fucking awesome. And I watched the first film, and I was blown away with it. Like the Death Star run. Where the fuck's my phone? Where is my phone? The Death Star run, the lightsaber battles, just a story, everything. Like, for an 8-year-old kid, it was pretty good. But then the film finished and the credits rolled, and at the end of the credits there was a making of featurette, and it was like 20 minutes long, and it showed you how they made the Death Star run and the Death Star. And it was just a bunch of tables with like little fucking grey cardboard boxes, and they had like X-Wings on wires, like toy X-Wings basically on wires. And I'm sitting watching this like, I've got a toy X-Wing. I could fucking do this shit. I've got string. I could make a fucking... but I didn't have a camera at the time because I was 8 years old. But like, I know for a lot of people, they won't watch like making of stuff because it ruins the magic of the film, you know, when they see that how it was all done. But for me, it just cemented the magic of the film, the fact like this is what they did in real life, and then that's how they project it, and how it all comes together, and how it's just a completely immersive world that they create from a bunch of grey boxes and some string and some toys. Like, it absolutely fascinated me. So growing up, I never thought, oh, I'm gonna get into film one day, because like where I grew up, it was like a rough, poor fucking town, and you think, oh cool, maybe if I'm lucky I'll get a job in a factory, which I've done a fucking lot of. But yeah, so growing up, when so film was always really important to me. Like, I had a rough fucking childhood, spent a lot of time isolated, blah blah blah. So films and books were just a perfect escape for me, and that's what film always has been for me. It's been an escape. And like, when Martin Scorsese came out and spoke against Marvel movies and said like, that's not cinema. I don't know how Martin Scorsese talks, but yeah, he said like, that's not cinema. But like, obviously he's thinking the movies he does are cinema, you know, Goodfellas and Casino and incredible movies. Like, I love everything Scorsese does. But for me, that's like the Marvel superhero fucking action movies. That's what movies should be to me. I mean, that there is real gangsters and mob guys and wise guys, and they do run casinos. Like all the stuff that happens in his movies has happened to a more or less extent, especially Goodfellas, based on a true story. But when I go to the cinema, I want to see shit that I can't see in real life. Do you know what I mean? I want to see fucking spaceships the size of planets. I want to see laser swords and fucking superheroes. I want to go and just switch the fuck off for an hour and a half and go on a fucking journey. Do you know what I mean? And just get out of my own head for a while and just like give over to the majesty and the cinematic fucking marvel that's being presented to me, and just behold it for an hour and a half. You know what I mean? It's brilliant. So when I was growing up, my favourite film, for so many reasons, was The Crow. The Crow was released in 1996. The Crow was released in 1994. I saw it for the first time in 1996 when I was 9 years old, and like there's just the film itself is just a masterpiece. The cinematography, the art direction, the set direction, the costume design, the characters, the casting, the script, the writing, everything. If you just see it as the film, just as is, it is incredible. But then when you start getting the backstory behind it all, like obviously the big thing attributed to it is like the main star, Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee, was killed on set in a firearm accident, and it happened, the way they were shooting the film, they were shooting it in reverse chronological order, so they had a good large percentage of the film finished, but then Brandon was killed in real life in the scene where he's meant to die in the film, so they had to go in and like use body doubles. Interesting fact, Brandon's body double and stunt double in the film was I can't say this name, Stilinski. The guy who directed John Wick was a stuntman, and he was a stuntman for Brandon Lee, and it was him who filled in for him for a lot of the shots and stuff. So like if you watch the film and you watch it, when Brandon goes back to when Eric goes back to his apartment for the first time, like there's a lot of POV shots and you never see Brandon's face, or Eric's face. You see it reflected in a mirror, but that's all the digital shot. And once you know like the scenes where they didn't have Eric to film it, and you see the way they filmed it and how they had to work around it, it's just like from a filmmaking point of view and a creativity point of view, like what they had to do to finish this film, pretty similar to like what they've done with Paul Walker, but this was like basically I think this was the first time in film that they digitally pasted someone else's face onto someone else's body. I'm not 100% sure. It was either the first time or they really like refined the technique for this, but so yeah, you've obviously got like the myth of the passing of Brandon Lee. Like there was a big rumour back in the day, like they actually used the footage of him dying in the film and stuff, but they didn't. The director burned it. But yeah, if you watch the film itself is based on a graphic novel, also called The Crow, written by a guy called James O'Barr. I was lucky enough to meet James a few years back. I'll get into that. But when James was a comic book artist and he was engaged, he had a fiance, he loved her incredibly. Like he said himself, he was punching way above his weight. Like this girl was his dream girl. He couldn't believe that he'd got her. He was so lucky, he was so in love. And then one day she was killed in a hit and run traffic accident, and he was distraught. He was heartbroken. He was broken, and he started writing a comic book just purely as a form of catharsis, just to deal with the emotions that he was going through at the time. And he never intended it to be published, but then once it was finished, I think it was like one of his friends or maybe his publicist or his agent or something seen it, and they were like, dude, you have to put this out there. And I'd seen the film first, and then I found out it was based on a graphic novel. And I've read thousands of books in my life. I love reading. I read vigorously, and the graphic novel of The Crow still remains one of the most emotive pieces of literature that I've ever fucking read. Yeah, it's a comic book, but it's still a story, do you know what I mean? It's still characters, you still go along the path with these people, and it's just, you read it, and because it is a comic book, and it's because a graphic novel, sorry, and it's so well drawn, it is just, I mean, it's a page turner, you know what I mean? It's hard to put down, and you finish it, and it's just such a good fucking story. And when you know that this story is just a real human being trying to use this story to process his emotions, do you know what I mean? To process what he's going through. He's using Eric as almost a vehicle for his grief, but in the story Eric gets his retribution, you know, he gets his revenge, but obviously in real life, like, it was a hit and run. There was never any resolution for James. It was just, his fiance's dead now, do you know what I mean? No, like, oh, you've got cancer, you know, you've got 6 months to live, so you've got 6 months to prepare, or anything like that. Just crossing the street, drunk driver or whatever, just speeding, and gone, do you know what I mean? So if you ever read the graphic novel, like, if you go back a couple of episodes when I'm in my bedroom back home, the back wall, you'll see it's like wallpapered with a comic book, and that's the graphic novel of The Crow. So yeah, it became my favourite film almost instantly. Like I say, the art direction in it is incredible, the cinematography incredible, the performances incredible, the soundtrack fucking incredible, the fight scenes incredible, the lore behind it just drags you in. But the main thing for me, as much as it is an incredible film, and it has a parkour sequence, if you could call it that. It has a rooftop run, which is definitely has elements of parkour. And I know Jackie Chan's been doing shit for the 80s and what have you, and this came out in 1994, but as far as I can remember, I think that's the first time I saw something like that and identified with it and felt like I'd love to do that, just like running across rooftops and jumping and swinging and doing a big front flip at the end. So I think that might have been what inspired my early parkour training before I had any idea what parkour was. So yeah, as much as it is an incredible film, action film, or like horror in a way, or thriller in a way, for me the thing that I resonated most with when I was younger was the love story behind it. The fact that, like, Eric and Shelley, their love was so fucking strong that, you know, the universe conspired, so like when they were brought together, like, oh no, that was wrong, he needs to get a second chance to make this right. And that always, like, I heard a quote once that's kind of fucked up, but it said basically, women get their idea of a relationship from Nicholas Sparks movies, is that his name? I don't know, like The Notebook, you know, that kind of shit. Whereas men get their idea of what a relationship should be from porn, which is funny as fuck. But it was, for me, what shaped my idea of what love should be, or what a relationship was, or any of that kind of shit. It was literally The Crow. Because, like, if you watch the film, or if you've watched it, like, you don't actually see that much of Eric and Shelley's relationship. That's like, there was meant to be a lot more stuff filmed. Like, I talked to James O'Barr in depth when I met him, and there was meant to be a lot more relationship stuff filmed to establish them two better as a couple. But the way, like, you only see them for like very, very brief moments, but you instantly connect with this couple. Their chemistry on screen was fucking undeniable. The actress that played Shelley was like stunningly beautiful, so you immediately connected with her on that kind of level. And then the brutality of how, like, they're killed, it's just, and all this is in like the first fucking 10 minutes of the film. So not the first 10 minutes, like, spoiler alert, they kind of, like, the film, it's split up a wee bit and they go back and forward, but yeah, so you don't see them that much, but the relationship is so strong that it has such a lasting effect on you. And to me, young, naive, fucking 8-year-old, that's to me what love should be. It should be that kind of fucking so strong love that, like, literally till death do us part. Now fuck that, like, after death, do you know what I mean, we'll still fucking be together. So that's what kind of shaped my whole fucking ethos into what love and relationships should be. It's never really played out like that, and I've always thought, like, when I've met a new girl, because I've thought, like, alright, so I'm going to meet a girl at some point, and it's going to be my Shelley, do you know what I mean? It's going to be like my ultimate fucking whatever. So whenever I do meet a girl, I'm like, oh shit, this must be the one then, do you know what I mean? And then evidently it's not. Or just fucking mad circumstances getting in the way. So anyway, yeah, The Crow, fantastic film, soundtrack, incredible. The movie itself, incredible. It was on Netflix. There's a copy of it on YouTube. But yeah, I love the film. I've never actually, it's so strange. A lot of fans of The Crow, especially if it's a dude with long hair, they will go out as The Crow at Halloween at some point because it's an incredible fucking easy costume to make. But I've never actually went out as The Crow. I'd done the makeup once because I was going to recreate or reinterpret the parkour scene from The Crow. I might actually do that here because the rooftops are more American and shit. And yet when I had like my hair down and had the makeup on, I looked pretty good at it. And when I played Iggy Pop, I got leather trousers, like skin tight leather trousers, which I've only worn once, but they would be perfect. I might shoot this while I'm here. Yeah. Stay tuned, folks. So, to speak about The Crow, like I've got fucking tattooed on me. I went and seen James. When I met James O'Barr, he gave me 3 pins. They were like licensed merchandise from The Crow. And at the time there was 3 of us in the band, me, Gary and Alan. Gary, Dr. Yates, who's been on the podcast, and Alan, who I'm now living with in Canada. We were in a band, and the band was called Hangman Joe's. Now, in The Crow, Eric, Brandon Lee, he is a musician, and his band is called Hangman's Joke. And because Gary, this is also his favourite film as well, which is one of the reasons we became such fucking good friends, like, instantly. And when he's seen it on an old, like, VHS copy. And when you see the name of the band, it's like on a poster on the wall. And the VHS that he had was a bit like fuzzy or whatever, so he thought the band was called Hangman Joe's, which is quite a cool name for a band, but the band's actually called Hangman's Joke. And we, like, a while later when he was putting a band together, he was talking to a friend about it, and he said, like, oh, Hangman Joe's, that's a great name for a band from The Crow, but you can't use it because it's in The Crow. And his friend said to him, no, the band in The Crow is called Hangman's Joke. And Guy was like, oh cool, so I can use Hangman Joe's. So like, The Crow is my favourite film for fucking years, from I was 9 years old. I met Gary like fucking when I was 22 or some shit. Turned out it was his favourite film as well. He'd already put a band together named after the band that was in the film, and then he started teaching me bass so that he could put a new band together, and we ended up calling it Hangman Joe's as well. And so I was the bassist in it. And then I brought Alan, good friend. We trained together. We've trained together for fucking like 17 years. Done movies together and shit. So I brought him in, or we brought him in as a drummer. So it was just such a great homage to be in a band called Hangman Joe's. Yeah, it was. I've got so much fucking random synchronicities connected to this movie. It is unreal. But then, last year, towards the end of last year, I'd already seen the trailer for this film, right, and I thought this looks pretty decent, taps into a lot of things that I'm into. But then I actually watched the film, and it blew my fucking mind. At the time, it was just quite a small film. It comes from a studio called A24. Another film they'd done was Swiss Army Man, which is a fucking surreal, batshit crazy, perfect slice of cinema. It really is. If you have not seen Swiss Army Man, with Daniel Radcliffe. Go and watch it, smoke a joint before it, and just turn your brain off and just get into the world of the film. Just accept what's happening and go on the journey. It's a great movie. So it's quite a small studio, A21, and they produced a film called Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's directed by two guys called the Daniels, and this film is fucking incredible. I never thought any film would top The Crow as my favourite film. I love Avatar. I think that might be the greatest film ever made in terms of filmmaking and like just putting fucking magic on the screen. But it never came close to The Crow. There's loads of films that I love, but they just never came close to that personal connection that I had to The Crow. Then I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'd seen the trailer, I knew it was connected to like multiverse, alternate reality kind of shit. But this film, right? If you go back, now I started this podcast kind of specifically to talk about my experiences with DMT, but obviously it's just went fucking haywire since then. But if you go back 3 years ago, when I was talking about my DMT trip in the woods, when I 100% crossed over to an alternate reality. Sorry, I crossed over to 2 alternate realities. Both times that it happened, right, when I opened my eyes, reality, I was sitting in front of the fire, and the fire was now 3 fires, 3 separate fires from 3 separate realities, trying to contain the same space at once. And there was like lines kind of separating the realities, but they were changing and shit. Anyway, I tried to describe this in the podcast 3 years ago. Watching that movie, the first time that she like splits between alternate realities, there's a graphic on the screen and it's almost like a cracked glass, a smoky crack in a glass kind of dividing the realities thing. That is almost exactly what I saw when I was crossing into an alternate reality. Almost exactly. And I'm watching this like, how the fuck did they do that? How the fuck have they managed to describe that exactly how I seen that? As far as I know, there's not a lot of people that have had the same fucking experience that I've had of genuinely crossed. Like, I've read stories of people like walking down a road and suddenly, you know, they're in a town that seems to be like 50 years ago and what the people are wearing and stuff, but they like walk into it and walk out of it. I intentionally done my shit, and the effect was the exact same as what is described in this film 3 years later. And also, if you watch Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, there's a bit where he's projected through like loads of random fucking alternate realities, like at once, not at once, but he's projected through like layers of reality. And I described the exact fucking thing happening to me 3 years ago in this podcast. Exact fucking same. I had not seen this movie had not been written, fucking made, any shit like that. I wasn't copying them. I'm not saying they're copying me. I'm saying like one of the first times twice now, like, why are so many movies multiverse fucking related right now? Do you know what I mean? It's fucking crazy. But then the way they're presenting it is exactly how it happens when you're traveling through the fucking multiverse. Do you know what I mean? Like, what I experienced, right, yes, you can say, but Lee, you were on drugs. You just thought it was happening. You can say that all you want. I'm the one that went through it, and it fucking happened 100 fucking %. This isn't I believe it happened. If you believe something, you're then leaving yourself open for disbelief. Like, I know that this happened unequivocally. And then this film goes and fucking describes it. So not only does this film deal beautifully with the fucking multiverse concept, don't get me wrong, it's a wee bit like Inception, where they've got some technology that's just not explained, that just is like a MacGuffin, like, oh, we've got this thing that allows us to do this, but it's the this that's important, not how they get there kind of thing. But yeah, the fact that it describes multiverse, it visually describes multiverse travel perfectly, in my opinion, as someone who's been through it. It also has some of the best fight scenes ever committed to film. I swear to God, these are fucking brilliant. It's got, I cannot remember his fucking name now. Oh, that's such a shame. Such a cool guy. I've got him on Insta. The little guy that played Short Round in Indiana Jones, and the wee Gizmo dude from the Goonies. He's in it, like, and the way he plays his role is just phenomenal. The fight scenes in it, phenomenal. There's a scene, right, between two rocks with googly eyes. Not a word is said, some text comes up on a screen, right, and it's a mother and a daughter that are encapsulated within these rocks, shall we say. And this scene is one of the most perfectly written, most emotionally fucking hitting, like, scenes I've ever seen in my life. And it's two fucking rocks with googly eyes. And this film won fucking all the Oscars. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I swear to God, from a storytelling point of view, it is phenomenal, and it taps into what I consider to be real things. Like, I fucking messaged Daniel Kwan, one of the directors, and the chief fucking special effects guy in the film, to ask him if either of them have done DMT, or how the fuck they got the idea to do the film as they did. And I told him, like, the whole fucking story, like, look, blah blah blah, I used DMT to facilitate a journey between fucking alternate realities, and then 3 years later you guys make a film that perfectly accurately describes what I've been through. What's the deal with that? None of them got back to me, but at least I put the word out. But yeah, this film is so fucking good. Like what I said before, in terms of cinema, in terms of being able to just see shit that you don't see in everyday life, in terms of having a 2-hour escape, you know, where there's no stress, no nothing, you just grab some snacks, get comfy, and this is all you're doing. It, like, Everything Everywhere All at Once is an almost perfect fucking film in that regard, and I'm so glad that for it being quite a small film, it won all the fucking Oscars, because it truly fucking deserves it. Sometimes, like, there's a lot of Oscar winning movies that I haven't fucking seen, but sometimes films will get the Oscar and you're like, they're just getting that because it's whatever. But for a film like this, for a film like Everything Everywhere All at Once, to get as many Oscars as it did, including Best Picture, including Best Actors, Support, and blah blah blah, it's fucking phenomenal. It's such a good movie, such a good fucking movie. How long have I been filming this? You might have noticed, I can't get this fucking back up. Yeah, you might have noticed a bit of difference in the quality. I'm filming on a GoPro right now. But yeah, I don't know how long I've been going for. Must be around half an hour mark. Anyway, I'll call it there. That's just, why did I want to do this initially? I honestly think it's just because I was wearing this t-shirt. I got this t-shirt. I never thought about, like, I've had a couple of bits of Crow merch. I've got a Crow bobblehead that I should have brought with me. Oh yeah, I was telling about the band and shit. So James gave me 3 pins, and there was 3 of us in the band, so I gave one to each member. And my pin, I wore it on a chain, and I wore it for fucking ages, and it was like such a staple part of me. And then I lost it one day when I was training, and then my ex-girlfriend, Zoe, got me like a replacement crow for my birthday, I believe, or Christmas, I can't remember. But yeah, now this is like my fucking lucky talisman. So if you're, I don't know if you would still watch these, but thank you, I still appreciate that. So yeah, that is my 2 favourite movies. I'll wrap it up there. Should I do an episode of my favourite TV show? It's Sons of Anarchy. You should watch Sons of Anarchy, it's good. Yeah, I'll wrap that up there. And it's so fucking hot, man. I can't wait. I'm gonna finish this, put it in the computer, and then I'm going down to the park. There's a park like 3 minutes walk from here, and it's fucking incredible. So yeah, the next episode I will dedicate to Canada stuff, It might be like a field trip episode, it might not be. I also filmed a little bit of footage from, we went training the other night at a parkour gym, and I filmed some stuff, but it wasn't a very long video, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It might be out by now, it might not be, I don't know. But yeah, if you've watched me babble shite this far, thank you very much. I hope I catch you in the next one, and in the meantime, if you've not seen The Crow or Everything Everywhere All at Once, go give me a wee watch, let me know what you think, sound off in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.